Hello everyone and welcome to another video. In this video I'll be addressing the controversy between the red and white poppy. You may have heard in the media, both on TV and on the radio, people debating about the red versus white poppy, whether the white poppy should have any place during Remembrance Day, and whether the red poppy is or not a nationalistic pro-war symbol. I was involved during Remembrance Day when I was an Air Cadet, so I was in the Air Cadets from 2004 until 2009. And during my time there I used to sell the poppies on the lead up to Remembrance Day and be part of the Remembrance Sunday parade. My squadron was the only organisation representing the Royal Air Force, so I was very honoured and proud to be part of it. And I did that right up until the day I had to leave the Air Cadets when I turned 20. During this video I'll be explaining both myths and debunking some myths about both the red and white poppy. One of the myths about the red poppy is that it is a pro-war nationalistic symbol and wearing it is a sign of patriotism. Some people may be wearing it for patriotic reasons, but originally the red poppy was a remembrance symbol and still is a remembrance symbol. It came into existence after the First World War, and it became even more relevant during the Second World War, because both during the First and Second World War they were what we would call today total wars, on a far bigger scale than any of the other wars which have happened since then. And people had to serve in the military during those wars because there wasn't enough volunteers. At the start of the First World War there was the British Expeditionary Force, and within the first year of the First World War most of them were killed, and that was when people realised it was going to be a much deadlier and much bigger war than we had ever seen before. So every able-bodied man of military age had to enlist in the armed forces, and if he didn't, if he was on British territory, he would be put in prison and branded as a coward. And if they refused to fight during the time when they were in the trenches, they would be shot at dawn. And during the Second World War, the same thing happened. I don't know whether they actually shot people at dawn and during the Second World War, but you would certainly be sent to prison if you refused to fight. And the Second World War was the biggest war the world had ever seen, and deadliest as well. So people had to fight in the Second World War, and this country, and indeed a lot of other countries around the world's very existence, was threatened during the Second World War. So it's a war that we had no choice but to fight. We tried peace. Neville Chamberlain tried to reason with Hitler. He tried to bring peace in our time, but unfortunately in the end we had no choice but to fight Hitler. And after the Second World War we had something called national service, where every man of military age had to serve in the armed forces for at least 3 years, from the end of the Second World War up until the early 60s. And during that time Britain was involved in a lot of wars such as the Korean War, Cyprus, Palestine, Greece, and most controversially the Suez Crisis, which was the Iraq War of the 1950s. And because they were national servicemen, whether the wars were right or not, they had to fight in it. So during that time no one could mistake the poppy for a pro-war symbol or pro-military symbol. Most people knew someone who had fought and even died during those various wars. And Britain's armed forces were much bigger during those days, so more people knew someone in the military. The myth about the red poppy being a symbol of nationalism and pro-war, pro-militarism, from my experience, I started hearing that more during the time of the Iraq War. The Iraq War was Britain's most recent controversial war, and a lot of people really started to turn their noses up at national pride and being proud of the armed forces during that time. Understandably, because those wars were very controversial, Britain lost a lot of moral authority on the world stage because of that, like a lot of the other countries involved, like the United States. But the meaning of the red poppy remains the same. It is a symbol of remembrance. Whether you agree with the wars or not, you're free to criticise those wars. A lot of people very passionately did during the time of the Iraq War and a lot of other wars. No one in the military wants to take away your freedom to do that. They feel that they're serving this country to defend our freedoms. And it remains the same. It's a symbol of remembrance. It doesn't mean you support the war. So even if you disagree with any war that Britain fought in, I'd encourage you to wear red poppy at remembrance. So no, it's not a nationalistic symbol. It's not a test of patriotism. It's not a pro-war or even pro-military symbol. It's purely a symbol of remembrance. Just like the white poppy is, which will go into the myths about the white poppy now. There are a lot of common myths about the white poppy, and I'm sure you heard a lot of them if you watch news programmes where they debate about the white poppy every year. You hear things like it's invented by hippies to protest war and to have it as a rival to the red poppy. You hear things like people who wear the white poppy hate the veterans, hate this country, and we'd be better off going and living somewhere else. And none of these myths are true at all. In fact, the white poppy is around about the same age as the red poppy, only a few years younger. The white poppy originated in the 1920s and was made to remember conscientious objectors, as well as civilian casualties and all victims of war. The main reason why they invented the white poppy is because the original Royal British Legion red poppy did not have no more war in the middle of it. They wanted them to put no more war in the middle of the red poppy, but the Royal British Legion at the time refused, and instead the white poppy came into existence to remember all victims of war and to make a statement of no more war. So ever since the 1920s, the white poppy has existed alongside the red poppy. The reason why I personally wear the white poppy is because I don't like war. I don't want patriotism to mean supporting my country in whichever war it takes part in, and I want to remember all victims of war alongside British military dead. I respect and remember the British military dead along with people from the countries Britain was allied with at the time. But I also remember all those people who were caught up in the war, who had no choice, who just happened to be there in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that is why I wear the white poppy alongside the red poppy. Both poppies are a symbol of remembrance, both mean anti-war, and both complement each other. Wearing a white poppy and a red poppy is not a contradiction. The white poppy is not an insult to veterans and military family. It doesn't mean you hate this country. In fact, it means you're a world citizen as well as a British citizen or a citizen of whatever country you're from. So both poppies are symbols of remembrance and both have their place around about this time of year. So I hope you enjoyed watching my video. I hope this has been really informative, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.